Welcome back to Orange Nation. Our artist of the day today, Ozzy Osbourne, as the Osbournes, the TV show, debuted on this day. Steve, what a day in television history.
I had no idea. March 5th. How long ago was that?
You're asking too many questions, Steve. I don't know. I know one subject, and that's it.
Show prep, Paulie. Show prep. What else do you got to do down there in Clemson, South Carolina, right? There's not a whole heck of a lot to do.
All right. Studying up on Ozzy Osbourne is not one of them.
Not one of them. That's fair. All right, let's go to our guest line. As promised, we bring on a man who needs absolutely no introduction. So pleased to be joined by the great Mike Tirico to talk all things SU athletics. Mike, great to have you on. How are you today?
Steve, good to be on. Paul, I hope you're doing well down there in Clemson. Have you hit all the great ACC chicken places that they have around the conference?
I have. Last year at the ACC tournament, I actually tried to eat only the chicken places in the conference, and it didn't go well.
What was the name of the? And they're still around. The chicken sandwich place that sponsored the starting lineups in the ACC football and basketball when we all first got into the conference about a decade ago. You remember who that was? Bojangles.
Bojangles.
I couldn't think of. There was nothing funnier than watching Syracuse and DC play basketball, and it's time for the Bojangles starting lineup. When in fact there is no Bojangles within 200 miles of either campus. So those are the good old days. But good to be out with you guys. Big game tonight, and really excited to watch, and really hope the guys can get another win.
Yeah, it is a huge game, and we'll get to that in a minute here, Mike. I got to start though with that Boeheim ceremony that you were a part of a week and a half ago. I thought it was extremely well done, not just by you. I thought the university as a whole just really did a great job with that event. Just your thoughts on that weekend and getting to be a part of history and you know a chance for Jim Boeheim to say thank you to the community and for the community to say thank you to a guy who gave his life to that place.
Steve, I'm glad you mentioned it. John Wildhack, Tory Ball, the entire athletics department put on, I thought, a great presentation in the dome for the 25,000 fans that were there. All the proclamations, the scholarship and coach's name that the chancellor and his wife, Dr. Ruth Chen, brought out. All of that stuff, the pictures that Red and the team brought out. But also the video tributes during the game, because it really kind of walked you through so many different moments of coach's career, which for any of us who've been around Syracuse in the last 50 years are mileposts in our lifetime. You really measured your time spent around Syracuse by going through those basketball memories. And the dinner that night at Drumlin's also was a great reminder of the people who have made Jim Boeheim and in turn helped us just have a lot more enjoyable weekends, nights, years, seasons, winters in Central New York. I don't think a year ago we could have sat here and said it's going to look that way, but I'm so glad it has gotten there, and that's the work of a lot of folks, starting with the chancellor and with John Wildhack and Coach Boeheim and all the way through. It's the right way. Sometimes, guys, the hardest thing to do is to dismount from the top of a really tall mountain. And while we didn't get down the first part very smoothly, I think Coach Boeheim has come down that mountain from coaching in a really great way, where he's still a significant part of what Syracuse does and what Syracuse basketball is all about. And it doesn't end this way in a lot of places. So I'm really happy for the university, happy for Jim, and honored that I was able to be a small part of it a week and a half ago.
We had Jim on the day before that ceremony, and he also came into the News Channel 9 studios about a week prior to that. And in both cases, he just seemed happy. He seemed relaxed. Did he seem that way to you, Mike? Did he seem different in any way from when he was, in the rigors of a season compared to how he was, the last couple of weeks that you got a chance to spend with him?
You mean Mr. Media? Like you can't get him away from an open microphone now? My gosh. I think he's good at this TV stuff now, too. No, I think he's enjoying it. None of us really do something for 50 years or thereabouts and understand what the after that is going to be. And And for Jim, this is all he did, all he knew. So I don't know if he could see what it could look like without getting ready for Clemson or getting ready for what North Carolina's big-to-big passing is going to be, or Duke switching ball screen. I don't know if he saw that. So he's got a little bit of that with TV. He's got both of his sons playing, Jimmy over in Germany, and Buddy hit that great game winner for the Pistons G League team, and I'm sure we're going to see Buddy with the Pistons here over the next month or so as well. He's had a great season in the G League, too. And, doing things with Julie and the family. I don't think he could see that, but now that he's seen it, he enjoys it. And he seems really happy. He seems to be enjoying it. Good for him. As I said, his work, his teams, his coaching, his presence at Syracuse has given so many of us so many enjoyable times in our lives. I can't wish for anything but happiness for Jim. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Nobody has done more to make Syracuse University known globally than Jim Boeheim's basketball program. And that's no disrespect to the brilliant faculty and staff and everybody at the university. There's nothing that has the reach of athletics across all sectors, and nobody's done more for the reach of Syracuse than Jim. So I'm glad that this is the way it's ending, with a very happy, positive, and connected note.
Mike, I got lucky enough to go to that dinner afterwards and got to see him as a dad and all this other stuff. Was there anything you learned about Jim Boeheim from this event that maybe kind of caught you off guard, or you didn't know going into it?
No, good question, Paul. Not off guard, but I think it just reinforced a lot of the stuff that we knew. Jim's been a pretty open book. It was an interesting arc for me because I was a student, obviously, and one of my badges of honor is that as a student, I never got a Boeheim question thrown back at me as a bad question. So that was I survived the gauntlet, so I knew I could handle anybody when I got out. But then I was working in local TV at Channel 5, and John Eves, a great friend of mine, was the sports director, and we hosted Jim's coaches show for a couple of years. So I got to see Jim in a different light there. And then as I went on to ESPN, would come back, cover games, and be around the university, got to spend other time with Jim more as a friend and a colleague and an acquaintance. And I've known a lot about him over the years, but I think just the reinforcing part of it to me was, Julie said it really well. Jim's very simple, and that's not a negative. It's just black or white, good or bad. Jim will just tell you what he thinks, and it's very honest and right in front of you. And we all experience that covering him from a basketball perspective, or when you ask his opinion on anything, boom, honest opinion. And I think just hearing him, that was a trait of Jim's all the way through, from his friendship with Dave Bing when they were roommates on through, was great. I'll tell you what, guys, I never posted. I'm just kicking myself. I just realized this. I never posted. I had the greatest picture from that game, the game against Notre Dame. My wife and I were there, and we sat right behind Jim Boeheim and Dave Bing. And it was one of the coolest things because as the game was going on, Jim and Dave were just talking. And every trip up and down the floor, one would say one thing, the other would say something back, and vice versa. I'm just thinking, these guys have been having that conversation for over 50 years. And they still love basketball and give to it. Just a really neat experience, and a great weekend with a great person celebrated. And the good news now is we're going forward, and the basketball program's still good. I'm really excited. Jim wanted that in the worst way. He wanted to leave the program in a good place, and I think he did.
And that's a perfect way to transition into our next topic, which is Adrian Autry and this current team. And, Mike, we didn't really know what to expect coming into this year. I don't think any of us really knew what to expect. But here they are, sitting on the bubble, 20-10. They've put themselves in position with a late run here that the NCAA tournament is possible. Can you speak to the job that Red has done this year and what you see out of the men's basketball team?
Great. Red's done a great job. The whole staff has. Jerry, Alan Griffin, Brendan Strong's now on the staff. They've done a great job. I'll tell you why I think it's great. Because the team has holes, right? They don't have a true big. They don't have great outside shooting. Bell's a terrific shooter. But, one shooter you can take away. We saw that in the second half of the NC State game where Bell went nuts in the first half. Right? you could take one shooter away, and other guys can shoot, but they're streaky. So they don't have like one great thing except getting to the basket and getting downhill. You got multiple guys who can do that, right? And at a high level. But they have coached around the lack of strengths that this team has, not necessarily weaknesses, but lack of strengths. And they've been competitive in most of these games. There were some games early on where, and this is where I think they did their best job, like this is a young team. There's no junior or senior to say, I got this trip, guys. Let's do this. Let's stay solid here. Let's not jack up a shot because you hit one or two. They've got a maturity about them that it comes from that coaching staff on the sideline, almost possession by possession, and it's really good. And they like each other. If a guy isn't doing something well on the floor, but one of his teammates goes out and makes a hoop, that guy's cheering. I love the glue of this team for a young group, and they're getting hot here as I think they've matured, and they're learning each other's roles. And one night it's Q, and one night it's JJ, and most nights it's Judah on a drive and getting to the free throw line, and it's Bell one night, and all the way around Malik one night. And I'll tell you, JT has come along since the Notre Dame game. You can see his confidence has grown, and he's making baskets. So everybody's found their way. That's coaching. That's not giving up on guys. It's investing in them. And I think for his first year in the big chair, filling the biggest of shoes, Red has done a freaking phenomenal job. And I am so happy for him and by extension all of us who are Syracuse fans.
Well said. Let's move on to football now. And, Fran Brown has created a buzz around here that we haven't really seen with this program in a while. Have you had a chance to meet him yet, Mike? If not, what have you heard about him? What do you like about this particular hire?
Yeah, Steve, Paulie mentioned the ceremony for Coach Boeheim and the dinner afterwards at Drumlin's. I had a chance to spend some time with Coach Fran and his wife and then talk to him a little bit at the women's game the next day. And I'm not getting off the air until I talk about my pal Felicia. Coach Fran's energy, his passion is obvious, but what he's building is what we need right now as a school, and that's a group of guys who are invested in each other. College football has become so much about what am I getting in an NIL? What's my playing time going to be like? Me. It's the splinter and the fracture within college football teams is something like I've never seen before. And what Coach Fran is doing when you see the guys out in the community together on a Saturday morning cleaning up the neighborhood at 6 a.m. when you see those videos that they're getting put out. Coach Fran's bringing a group of guys together, and I think that's going to have immeasurable value as they go forward. It'll be learning pains and growing pains. There always are when you're a first-year head coach. But, man, everything so far has been really good. Let's see them get through spring practice, and, why not? Why not be the buzz and be a surprise team? The schedule does line up with the opportunity to get off to a good start in year one here, and I love what he's been able to do to make Syracuse football hot, energetic, and I know other people have asked, hey, the Ohio State quarterback came to Syracuse. What's that new coach doing up there? So people are buzzing, and there's interest, and hopefully it translates to a full dome those first couple of games in September, because if you can put a good product with an unmatched energy in the stadium, and we're the only Power 5 team that gives you that dome, noise, energy kind of thing, then you might get something. And it's a very important time to be very good and relevant in college football. And I think Coach Fran's put us in a different direction with that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, you brought up Felicia. She is doing a phenomenal job with this team. They've got a chance at a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, which, if you told me that before the season started, I would have said no way. Tell me about Felicia, your relationship with her, and, she's doing a great job for her alma mater, no doubt about it.
She's the best. So I've known Felicia since I got to Syracuse in 1984, so 40 years. For some reason, she looks a lot younger than I do. But Felicia ended up as the coach. She played 5 years because she had a knee injury. We covered her when we were there in student media and then local media. And I started dating one of the players on the team, who is now my wife for the last 32 years, 32 and a half years. That's the right number.
You better not lose track of that, Mike. You got to keep that number.
We're getting to the point now where it's so dark. 32 2.5 years, and my wife Debbie and Felicia were co-captains together. So I've known Felicia, and I saw her put on Instagram this morning that she was at a football practice at 6 a.m. Her passion for life, for people, is just the best. And you see it the way these women play. To see Daisha Fair and what she has done coming from Buffalo to Syracuse with Felicia and become the heart and soul of this program, and to watch her on their senior day, we stayed for that game against Pittsburgh a week ago Sunday, to see a young woman who doesn't show a lot of emotion, and she couldn't stop crying at the end of the game. And that's what Felicia's built. She's built an amazing sisterhood of players in this first couple of years that has reconnected with the players from my wife's era and all the way through. And I'm just so excited that we're going to be in the NCAA tournament. They've been in the top 20 for the last 2 months. The ACC is really, really, really good. And Syracuse was a overtime on the road away from being the number 2 seed. We're going to be the number 3 seed. It's great if you can get to the ACC tournament, do it and support them. If we end up somehow getting the top 4 seed and they're in the Dome, get there and give these women the support. If they get through the first 2 games and get in the Albany side of this, that gives us a chance to get to the Final 8 or the Final 4 and make Albany a home arena for us. It's so big to have women's athletics successful, and we're so lucky that we have somebody who is one of our own as Syracuse alums in charge of both programs for basketball, football. Coach Fran, we welcome him into the family. But to have our men's and women's basketball coaches as both alums, you see the passion they have for the place, and you can't beat it. I think the world of Felicia, and I'm so happy for her success and what they've built. With Sue Ludwig, too, is a great guard on the team as one of Felicia's great assistant coaches as well.
Mike, you talk about everybody being at the top of the biz and the best, and you're one of them. Maybe you could tell us, how did you end up doing all this? If I saw Mike Tirico as a kid and asked him what he wanted to be when he was older, what did you want to do, and what led you down this path?
Well, Paulie, this is what I wanted to do, which is kind of scary. When I was a little kid, this is what I wanted to do. I think that was reinforced when I became a defensive plate replacement and a pinch runner in early high school baseball before we even got to varsity baseball. I knew I wasn't going to make it, but I wanted to be in sports. And, Syracuse had this great reputation for sports media going back to names like Marty Glickman, Len Berman, Bob Costas, Dick Stockton, Marv Albert, especially for me growing up in New York. And that's why I came to Syracuse. And the opportunities on campus at WAER Radio and then the university TV station and learning from the great professors at Newhouse gave me the opportunity to get a chance. And were some of the most important. We had great Syracuse teams in '87, Final Four team, undefeated team that went to the Sugar Bowl and tied the Sugar Bowl 11-0-1 with one of the best, God rest his soul, Coach Mack, and an unbelievable staff who taught us what it was like to cover good teams and be around them. And I think Coach Boeheim's best team may have been that next year, after the next 2 years, really, after '87, the Syracuse team that lost to Illinois in the regional final in Minneapolis, the Illinois team that went to the Final Four, the Flying Illini. That may have been the best Syracuse team that I've seen in my 40 years being around the program. But that's when I was in local TV, so we had great things to cover. Got the opportunity to work at ESPN. Ironically, a good part of my ESPN time, my boss is John Wildhack, our great AD now. So it's been a great run, and 25 years at ESPN was extraordinary, and now it's 8 years or so at NBC and around the big events and the Olympics and the Super Bowls and Sunday Night Football and all that good stuff. I'm very blessed and very lucky, but without the Syracuse education, experience, and support of people in town as well, I don't have the career that I've been able to enjoy. So I'm always eternally grateful to the people on that campus, people who've made up the university for so many years, and the people in town. Because when I come to Syracuse, they treat me like I'm from there. And I'll always hold Syracuse really close to my heart.
Well, you are truly a great ambassador for the university. You've always been very good to my wife and what she does with the alumni office at Syracuse University. So thank you for that, Mike. Thank you for coming on, and continued success. We see you all the time. Your next assignment is you got some golf, right? You're calling?
Got some golf. That's right. That's why I'm on the road driving. I apologize for the background noise. We've got the Bay Hill tournament, Arnold Palmer's tournament this week in Orlando, then the Players Championship a couple weeks after that, the Masters. But I'm always keeping an eye on what we're doing. I will be in front of the TV tonight. Paulie, do not leave Little John without a win. Tell Joe Girard we loved him. We used to love him. We'll love him again in 3 weeks when we're done with him. But let's blanket him, not get shots off tonight. I can't wait to watch it. It's like I'm nervous today, guys. It's great to have a big game, and Mark, this is a big game for the guys. So love it, rooting for it. And Steve, it's good to be on with you. Since your beautiful child was born, you dropped down to the third best in Fonzie that I know. So I'm sure you're okay with that.
I'm very much okay with it. Thanks so much for coming on, Mike. We do appreciate it. Be well, and hopefully we can talk again soon.
Can't wait. Look forward to seeing you guys soon. Have a great day, and go Orange.
All right. The great Mike Tirico joining us here on the show. And with that, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we return, we'll get to the match game. We got Matt Govendo from Elite Wealth Management. He'll join us as we preview Syracuse Clemson. That's next on ESPN Radio.